Hats off to this writer for managing to answer some questions, but just create like 5 more questions. But yeah, I just got done with the 11th episode of Odd Taxi, and man, I love this writing so much. So to kind of give a quick idea of what happened in this episode, of course, we jump back in time, basically Nikaido telling her side of the story, which essentially kind of covers the idea that she was going to audition. She hates to lose, and she was auditioning alongside another girl named Yuki, which is obviously the girl that they recently had discovered her body. And it kind of goes through the idea, okay, well, she was in this idol group at some point. The producer wanted Yuki to take center away from Nikaido. And Nikaido, was being somebody that does not like to lose, was actually contemplating killing Yuki over it. But she decided that she was going to meet up with Yuki and then, basically tell her, hey, give up the spot for center. And she said if she wasn't going to agree to it, she was going to kill her. She was thinking about it. But as she arrived at the location they were going to meet, Yuki was already dead. And apparently this is kind of where they get mixed up with what Mystery Kiss gets mixed up with Yano and his group, is that Yamamoto, the producer, or the manager, he decides to contact Yano because Yano knows the producer. And Yano shows up, and Yano kind of mentions the idea that based on his experience, she was bludgeoned and then strangled. And that they basically went through the whole process of disposing the body. They took it over to this warehouse, chopped it up seemingly, put it in a bag, and then weighed it down and put it inside the riverside, or the bayside. And that was kind of the gist of her whole thing. And she, of course, was pretty bothered by this. They ended up finding somebody that looked similar to Yuki. That's why they started wearing the masks, is because they wanted to have both Shiho and this person that replaced Yuki to wear these masks so that nobody knew that she was gone. And the idea was that they were planning on, or at least what Yano kind of had them do was, okay, what you're going to do is you're going to tell the parents that she's missing, and then you're going to have them file keep it a secret, because apparently Yuki's family was pretty predominant, was a powerful group. Obviously, we found out later that Kurode, which is like the boss guy of Yano, he apparently knows him. So yeah, that was kind of this whole idea of keeping it a secret from the fans, keeping her identity separate, and then eventually they're basically only reporting this high schooler was missing, and then eventually removed or pull that missing persons report from the report so that they'll never look for her. So yeah, it was this whole idea of a cover up, just keep it from the public's eye, keep moving Mystery Kiss forward, and also, like I said, the fact that now Mystery Kiss is pretty much having to give half of their earnings to Yano, and that's why, Yamamoto's involved with them, Nikaido's involved with them, Shiho's having to do all these Badger games. They're all trying to earn money, essentially, to keep Yano happy, because they covered up this death using her. And Yamamoto doesn't believe that Nikaido did it. They haven't revealed yet even who did it. So, but that's also why they know that, he got in this taxi, or she got in this taxi, and that they want this information from Odokawa. So yeah, on the opposite end, we also kind of get a quick shot of, since this happened, Yamamoto is not going to be at the bank when they do this exchange, so Odokawa kind of loses easy weight out of this whole bank robbery thing. They're going to have to go through with it. Apparently now their base of operation for Yano has been moved, obviously, because they found this body. So, everything got messed up by them finding this body. And, also, it seems like he's not able to get a hold of the little Daimon. It was also cute, I forgot to mention, but we also kind of learned about how Nikaido met Baba. They met in a subway at they did some shows together at some point, and then they met later. And he kind of supported her through all this stuff, as she was kind of depressed and unable to sleep because of what she went through. Baba was there, that was always supporting her. And they get a little glimpse of Baba and Shibagaki kind of having a falling out. So we'll see where that goes going forward. And then finally on the side, Goriki, who has been continuing trying to find out more information about Odokawa's past, he ends up going to the rehabilitation facility or hospital where Odokawa first showed up at after the accident in his childhood. We end up finding out that his parents were involved in a suspected double suicide plunging their car into the river, and then apparently Odokawa was found nearby. Apparently he escaped alone, and he was unconscious, and he had to go through some rehabilitation, but he was going to do some outpatient stuff, but then they found that they were told by the courthouse that his benefactors showed up and they brought him to Tokyo. So that's kind of a curious thing. We've never really heard anything about. We know about the benefactor. That's who's paying for him to basically live, but we don't really know why the benefactor's doing that, or why the benefactor moved him. I'm assuming that's probably something to do with the parents. I'm thinking the parents are going to get wrapped up in something big. The parents are obviously involved in something big, and that's why Odokawa's subsequently kind of involved with the whole situation. Which also makes me kind of believe they have some tie-in with Daimon as well with that whole aspect. Not that Daimon was involved with the accident because he was too young, but at some point in this episode, Daimon mentions the fact that they are both technically on the same side, which was curious. I'm guessing it's the fact that Daimon believes that he is involved with a lot of this bad stuff, which he technically is. So he's believing that he's technically on the same side as him. So yeah, that's where we get into a lot of the questions, even though we have answers. I love it. I love it to death. I really do. This episode was just a kind of an addition to the parts of this story that I really do love, and that's that aspect of them really creating more questions and answers. Because like before in the last segment of the last episode, when they revealed that it was Yuki's body, Odokawa said that's not true, or technically that's not her. The translation was, that's not her. And the big question mark that comes from that is, in this episode, he does acknowledge who Yuki is. So technically him knowing this Yuki that liked fried chicken that was with Yamamoto, who was the replacement, knowing what she looks like and seeing Yuki on the screen and it looks different, obviously he would say that's not her. So that it answers that question. But it still doesn't answer the question of who's in his closet. It's just weird that he, being so good at recognizing people, would not put something together. Because we assume that the real Yuki is in his closet. But she can't be, because otherwise he would acknowledge the person on the screen who is the real Yuki. And the girl that was in the taxi, the fake Yuki, he didn't immediately say, no, that's not Yuki because I met Yuki before, so unless she's never gotten her name, that doesn't make a connection. So then it makes me wonder who is actually in Odokawa's closet, if anybody. We're still wondering if he has anybody in there, if it's just a figment of his imagination. I still believe that is a figment of his imagination just because I don't think at any point it really acknowledges the fact that that's her. All that we know is that he said, you can leave whenever you want. You can't escape now, or you can't escape the situation, so to speak. And when Daimon was going to look in the closet, he later on said, good girl. So my theory at this point is I believe whoever killed the girl, Yuki, the real Yuki, I'm sucking out my dog because her name's Yuki. The one that's in his closet, I believe, is actually the one that killed the real Yuki. And he's for some reason hiding her, because that's why he would say you can no longer hide from it now because they've discovered the body. He was apparently the one that dropped the real Yuki off, so it's assumed that when he dropped the real Yuki off, the person that killed the real Yuki may have gotten in his car after that point, which leads me to believe that whatever's in his footage is going to have the answers. It's going to have whoever got back in that taxi afterwards is obviously probably the killer. The question is there any indication of what we've seen so far of who that killer would be? We know it's not Nikaido. Based on Nikaido's, story of her past, which we would assume is real, Nikaido didn't do it because she just showed up and she was already dead. It's assumed that Yamamoto didn't do it because Yamamoto wouldn't want to ruin he'd be ruining Mystery Kiss by killing her. It makes no sense why he would kill her. It wouldn't be the producer because the producer liked Yuki, wanted her to be the sinner. Yano and them weren't involved yet, so it's assumed that they're not involved with it. So it really just kind of leaves it up to another person. Now, here's my next theory. to put on top of the fact that I believe, my theory is that the person that killed Yuki is in Odokawa's closet. I believe it's a twin sister. That's my crazy theory to add to it, as I believe it's going to be a twin sister, because it kind of leads the idea that whoever's in that closet is somehow connected to Yuki. But who could it be? Possibly somebody that looks similar to Yuki. It's a question mark. But there's also the idea that it could be somebody that's close to the family, because it seems like the family is connected to something criminal related, or at least somebody pretty rough. He's somebody powerful. His parents, I believe, are politicians or something, so they're very powerful, and they obviously have ties with criminals. So there is the aspect of maybe him wanting his daughter to not be doing something as stupid as idols. It seemed like she was trying to prove something to her parents, and she was doing something outside of what they wanted. That was why they initially talked them into the idea that she ran away, is because, well, you're just a overbearing family, and she ran away because she wanted to meet your expectations, and that didn't work out. But hey, it could be something as simple as Shiho did it. Shiho looking up to Nikaido killed Yuki just to get Nikaido back in the center. It'll be something crazy like that. Shiho is actually like not as innocent as we think that she is. She's actually a cold-blooded killer. Oh, no, I don't believe that's the case. But yeah, I do think that what's going to be in that diary is probably going to reveal the aspect of him seeing people as animals. That's why I think they're kind of slowly having Goriki reveal this stuff. It's like these little snippets of 2 minutes per episode is him finding out more information about him and his family. I kind of wonder what the whole aspect of his parents is going to be. I think they mentioned something about them being connected to something criminal. So it could be that his entire family is supposed to be murdered and Odokawa made it out. So, like I said, I'm really curious to see how that's going to be connected with everything else. But I almost wonder if it's going to be something as simple as, yeah, this really bad thing happened. Nothing else related to that has to do with anything happening now. But this is where he gets this little quirk. And that's what we're going to explain here. And like I said, I do think that's probably going to be something at the earliest. If they do reveal this is actually the case, it's probably going to be like a late episode 12 reveal, which is the next episode. And then, I don't know. I wonder if they'll reveal it late episode 12 and then get a full episode of humans. Or if they're going to just reveal it late episode 13. Because I know the reason they're not revealing it yet is because it's going to be too jarring. Once they reveal that, unless they switch it to humans to show that aspect, they would have to keep it in the animal forms because we're so familiar with the characters as they look now. So suddenly I know we're having a human-looking Dobu might be a little bit more jarring to people when they're actually viewing and trying to figure out what's happening because they don't recognize anybody anymore. So I wonder if they'll either reveal it in episode 12 late, show a quick glimpse of what they actually look like, and then switch back, and then episode 13 they'll be animal form still, and we'll see what happens, conclusion. Or it'll be like a late episode 13 switch at the very last minute, couple, cut to different characters as their real forms, and then end it. But it's still interesting. But it's funny because it's like that aspect's not the most interesting part of this whole thing. I know a lot of people talk about that aspect. The more interesting aspect of this whole thing is this whole crazy happenstance that everybody's connected to in some way, shape, or form. The robbery, the death of Yuki, the different crime groups, all that kind of stuff being all mixed up together has been the fantastic part of this. And I'm loving it. I got 2 more episodes left of it, though. I'm going to be heartbroken once it's over. This is turning out to be right alongside Wonder Egg Priority, one of my favorite shows of the year already. So definitely looking forward to more. Again, that's Odd Taxi episode 11. I hope you guys enjoyed my impressions and my crazy theories. And I hope you all enjoyed, and y'all take care.